It is day 83 of 365 days of remembering. Trina right here. And I just want to talk today about what I've been experiencing as what is being called to for spiritually conscious beings everywhere right now. What I really tune into and what I feel within my own field, within the collective field, and what my work, my own personal work, my own inner realizations and rememberings have been taking me to. So the best description I could come up with is I feel like a washcloth that's being squeezed of all of its liquid, so to speak. So it's like this time of everything that's going on around us, these external circumstances are really inviting us and calling us to stand in pure transparency and pure authenticity and pure honesty and integrity with ourselves and look at where we've thought we've been. You know, how have we been managing our alignment? Did we really think we'd mastered that? Where did we think our set vibrational offering point was, or our state of being? And now with all this stuff that can seem, depending upon how you choose to focus, different, chaotic, possibly fearful. And of course, as spiritually conscious beings, we're paying attention to that. But how easily do you find yourself swayed by the external circumstances? And for me, it wasn't really, like, I wanted enough information so that I could sort of then let it go. And so that was what last week was. But it's also just the uncertainty. That's what I've come up with, is there's nothing about it that feels fearful for me. It just, there's this uncertainty. And so having that awareness, it was like, oh, wow. So is uncertainty enough of an excuse to take me out of alignment? What does it feel like when I play and dance in uncertainty? And of course, it doesn't feel very good, because our inner beings would never feel uncertain. My inner being can't even fathom what that would feel like, because where she stands, she's so solid. She's so flowing in source, and she knows that well-being is the only thing that exists, and she is calling me to that and telling me that and telling me that. And when I tune back into that and I just sort of fall backwards into it, then it just doesn't matter. The conditions don't matter. They just seem irrelevant. Circumstances don't matter. I don't need to take my cue from circumstance. But what is happening is this is the beautiful testing ground for me to be able to see, like, what still needs to be squeezed out of me in the sense of, how am I still looking to my outer world? And not only that, because this is a worldwide thing, what was one of the interesting things, and it might have come up for you too, is the recognition of how much I still have a tendency to want to go along with, how much it's to stand in the clarity of my own infiniteness, to stand in the clarity of my own creatorship, to hold that and just be it and flow it, no matter what, how that feels a little wobbly for me, because it's potentially going to bump into other people and their stuff. But then what I reminded myself of is, when I hold steady to that, when I stand purely to it, then the only people that I'm even going to bump into, since none of us is really going out, we're not going to bump into anyone, but the only people that I'm even going to be exposed to online, on Facebook, in my personal life, is going to be people that are there, that get it, that are vibing in the same way. And so that's been really interesting, to just have this opportunity to feel this like a test that's coming, and to say, you know what? So I've been wondering if I'm in awareness. How much do I live in awareness? How much am I able to just tap into that awareness and see the world through it and not get caught up in the conditions? And, you know, normally in my day-to-day life, it's like the microscopic conditions of, like, my children and what are we gonna have for dinner, and doing the stuff around the house and building a business, and the work I'm doing, and, you know, those kinds of things, the day-to-day stuff. And now it's been taken to a much bigger degree, like away from just that personal minutia stuff into a larger scope. And now I get to see, you know, things that could seem from many, many different perspectives as fear-based and fear-provoking. and could activate like things like lack of control or lack of freedom. But I know that that's not who I am. And so what's been beautiful for me, and maybe for you too, is that recognition that I don't want to go there anymore. Like I got a little amped up last week and wanted to get some more information. But even in the process of getting the information, I still felt this like stillness inside of myself. So it's been really interesting to see like how much could I dive into it. And then I just decided that I didn't like it. It wasn't really, the value I was getting from the information was not in accordance with the extra work that I had to do, because there was extra work to sort of keep myself in that higher vibrational standpoint and in that space of everything's always working out, everything is beautiful. And I've been then called to do some reframing. And this is the other thing that I invite you to do. So after you've taken the time to sort of self-reflect, sit with yourself in pure presence and honesty and just say, so what am I seeing in myself based on this outer circumstance that I can't control, based on the collective being so hysterical, literally, about it? What do I notice? And what things can I celebrate? Because I'm not going there. What things do I need to be a little more focused about, a little more disciplined about? Like I've really decided to just only go on social media for very, very short bursts of time and then stay away from it and be very directive when I'm on YouTube. Like just go and upload my video and then get off of there. And I have like very few subscriptions to people, and they're people that I really value and trust their energy and their vibe. And so just make that a conscious decision to do that. And then once you've done that and you've done a little celebration dance, you sort of fine tune. And if the fine tuning takes you to a further place, like I think a lot of people might find themselves in places of being called to a deep surrender. I said to a friend of mine today, and I think my husband too, that it is like we are in a state of the whole world coming to its knees in a state of surrender. Like when my first husband passed away, that's what it felt like to me. There was a condition outside of myself that I could not control no matter what I did with it. I couldn't argue with it enough. I couldn't do anything to change it. And I had my come to Jesus on my knees moment of like, this is taking me and I got to deal with it. And now I got to figure out how to stand back up on my feet and keep walking forward in spite of this condition that I don't like. And right now it's a collective call to that come to Jesus moment, fall on our knees. And everybody's is going to be slightly different. Like some people, it might be around money and not knowing where money's going to come from, or if their job's even going to be there when this all settles down. Or other people, it might be that they lost money on the stock market, or, kids are home and it's changed the dynamic of their business flow, or they're all alone and they love being alone, but all of a sudden all alone all the time is different than when it's all alone because I'm choosing it. And the uncertainty aspect, which I was talking about, like not knowing how long it's going to last, that's a point of surrender. Like, how can we surrender? Because the deeper we surrender to these things, and all I mean by surrender is allow the feeling to come and sit with it. Don't sit with it for an indeterminate amount of time, but sit with it long enough to say, you know what, I'm going to take the charge off of this thing. I'm not going to let this thing be the thing that decides how I feel in the moment. And as long as it's there, kind of in my field, kind of bugging me a bit and getting me, and I'm not acknowledging it, and I'm also not letting it go, it's going to affect everything I do, everything I say, everything I see. And ultimately, the most important thing is it's going to affect what I'm attracting to me. It's going to affect what I see in this world and how I see the situations unfolding. And since I know that I'm a conscious creator, as I'm sure you do, that's the point of control that I want, is I want to create my reality. So I want to fine tune and dial in my vibration. And what do I want? I want it to come back in tune with my inner being, to who I know I really am: infinite, powerful, abundant, happy from the inside out, self-sourcing, like the ability to self-source, because everything I could ever need is right there available through my inner being and through source. Find my solidity in that and stand in it. And then what you'll notice is part of the surrender process can be, I'm okay. I let the feeling of uncertainty take me. Like, what does it feel like to be uncertain? I feel uneasy. I feel a tightness in my throat and my chest. I feel a tiny edge of fear because I don't know what's coming up. And I don't know where you're at with it, but where you're at will dictate how you'll go with it next. Like, you might have to really let a lot of feelings come up and really amplify them and sit with them. And really, if there's an emotion that feels like it needs to be released, like if this is triggering some other things from your past, then it might be a bigger deal. For me, I feel like I can just be like, okay, so yeah, I see how that feels. but I know it's not true. Like, I know that that's not the truth. I know that's not the basis of who I am. It's not the basis of my beingness. It's not the design of this universe. So I'm not going to play in that thought of uncertainty. I'm going to see, wow, possibility. What if I just reframed it from uncertainty to possibility, which leads me right into what I wanted to say next, which is we get to reframe the story. Just like I did with like the collective is being called to its own surrender process. And I also have been playing, I might have said this in another video, I'm not sure, but this idea, I've just for simplicity and positivity, I've been saying, like, what if there's 30% of the population of the world that is awake, that is like knows that they're more than a physical body, may not know all the details of everything that you know, but knows it at least, like is in that direction, is wants to be spiritually conscious, wants to live a different kind of life, wants to know, feels the calling and the yearning within their soul to be in that space. And then there's 70% that just really isn't. And so what if we made an arrangement before all these souls that we are came here to play this game and have this experience in this projected illusion? What if we somehow made an agreement that at some point, if things had not changed, which is beyond what we can comprehend, because I don't think it has to do with time or any of that, but somehow there was like a check, a balance put into the system so that at some point it would click in to provide opportunities for this higher awakening of a whole collection of consciousness. Because remember, no one can insert anything into your experience. You are the creator of your own reality. So we're all in this together, literally. We've all chosen to have this creation. And now what's really interesting is just because something is created doesn't then define how you're going to experience it. Because just like there's infinite possibilities of what to create, there's infinite possibilities of how to perceive it, how to dance with it, how to play with it, whether to react to it, whether to respond with it, whether to take a bounce from it. All of that is epic and plausible and possible to all of us and could look completely different, so that in essence, we can have a whole lot of beings on this planet having completely different experiences, all based on the same condition. Sounds crazy, but totally plausible and possible. And I know that my number one priority now is to come into alignment with my inner being and take back the reins of my creatorship so that I can be the one that's going to decide the stories that I'm going to listen to about this. I'm not going to say, oh, whatever I see in the news is the thing I'm going to listen to, or whatever that politician says might be right, or that conspiracist must know what they're talking about. Even my own spiritual teacher, who I look to a lot, or spiritual teachers, still, I'm going to question it and I'm going to sit with it and I'm going to say what feels best to me, and then I'm going to find my story and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to choose the beliefs that I can find that feel the best to me, beliefs that I can allow and attune to. And that's really what I think we're all being called to. It's like we're being called to take what we live as a philosophy and a paradigm of life, of being a spiritually conscious being in our minds, as a construct, but now we need to live it out loud. And what does that look like? What does that feel like? How do we do that? And that's this time right now. And at this point, I'm working on coming into those answers with myself. I know presence, kindness, self-love, reflection. And I think one of the really big things is that we are being called to stand in our certainty, to step away from doubt and stand in that unconditional certainty, that unconditionality where I know fully that the conditions outside of myself have nothing to do with this. In fact, they're just the thing that tells me what I need to focus on, what I need to clean up, what I want next, how I want to create. They have nothing to do with what should be deciding anything about how you feel or how you vibrate in any given moment. And I think that's what we're really being called to. That's another plausible story, another plausible reframe that we could do, is that all of us came here, the ones of us that are awakened, to have this experience of not only helping others awake, but holding so steady in our own selves and our own knowings so fully amidst whatever happens. So if you enjoyed this video, then please like it. That's a funny little way the world works, but it helps to make sure more people could see it. And ultimately, that's what I'm going for, is just as many people as possible seeing these videos, just because they get us thinking, just because they activate something inside of us that might move us to a different place, offer up a different perspective. Take what you want, leave what you don't. But I love it when I see something else that's like, oh yeah, I never really thought about it that way. And it just takes me to my own inner realization in a new way, because words don't teach. It has to be experiential. But sometimes words can take us to the openness to having an experience that we're really make that shine for us. So if that's the kind of thing you're into and you like it, I invite you to, as I said, like the video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, and you can get notified every time I go into a flow and share these videos with you. And I just want you to know I'm here for you through all of this. We really are in this together. And just because we're epic spiritually conscious beings doesn't mean we're not going to wobble. And that's okay. That's what this is about. It's wringing out the cloth. You just have to be willing to let the wringing out happen and go with the flow. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.